Well, it's a lot of pressure for anyone to be told they're going to be the next big thing, but 15-year-old contemporary Indigenous artist Chern'ee Sutton is taking it in her stride. The Bundaberg teenager recently showed a collection of her work at Queensland's Parliament. Lauren Day went along.
My paintings aren't complete unless I have a story with them. Anyone can paint really, but it's the stories that complete them.
She's part of the world's oldest living culture, but just a baby in the art world. 15-year-old Indigenous painter Chern'ee Sutton is already making her mark.
Walking in and seeing her work on the wall just stopped me back as if I'd seen something spiritual almost. I'd never seen any work of that colour type, of the type of design she uses, and of the experience that's put into painting by a schoolgirl.
The young artist started painting just over a year ago and won first place in the first Indigenous art competition she entered.
As soon as I saw Chern'ee's work, the first thing I said to her parents, and she got her passport ready, because I could see her artwork hanging in any of the overseas art galleries.
Like the teen herself, the work is a meeting of old and new, traditional and modern. Ancient techniques to high-tech creations which take on another dimension.
They've got a little bit of tradition, but she's got her own style, and that's what I like about it, that she keeps to her own style.
I'm not completely Indigenous and I'm not a full white person, so I sort of mix them together and it's the best of both worlds.
And her ability to mix those worlds is being celebrated as much more than just art.
We've got this closing the gap, and I reckon that's really the thing with it, is she is closing the gap, and such a young person to be doing it. You know, we expect the older people to be doing that.
Kind of coining this as a reconciliation artist, because she has this magnificent ability to produce work that is calm, that reflects her culture on the Indigenous side and non-Indigenous side, but also blends them, saying that we've had problems in the past, let's join together, we're one nation. I think that's a beautiful thing for a 15-year-old girl to do.
Last month, a collection of her work was exhibited at Queensland's Parliament, and with 2 exhibitions already booked in for next year and paintings selling for up to $3,000 each, the 15-year-old kid from country Queensland is now looking further afield.
Well, I hope that one day I can be a role model for young Indigenous people, and hopefully I can get more people to get into the art industry or just bring their culture back.
The sky's the limit. This young girl will be an international artist in no time at all.
I think in times to come, someone will be introducing her to a member of state from across the seas as Australia's greatest living artist.
Nice having you with us on 7 Local News. Well, a local artist has been recognised for raising the awareness of Indigenous women. Chern'ee Sutton has been painting Aboriginal art since she was 13.
Chern'ee Sutton has just 3 years' experience in Aboriginal art under her belt, but already she's taking the world by storm. The Bundaberg local has now been recognised by the state government for her work as part of NAIDOC Week. She's been named one of 13 Indigenous achievers as part of the Deadly Stories campaign.
My deadly story is that I'm 16 years old. I'm a contemporary Indigenous artist. I started painting when I was 13 years old and won the first Indigenous art competition that I entered.
Chern'ee, who has family links to the Kalkadoon people in Mount Isa, aims to bring people together with her art. The Deadly Stories campaign aims to encourage and highlight the achievements of Indigenous people.
My mum and dad have always taught me that if you want to get anywhere in life, you have to work hard for it, and that's certainly what I'm doing.
Pippa Bradshaw, 7 News.
Two locals have been listed as finalists for this year's Queensland Australian of the Year Awards. One was nominated for her work in promoting Indigenous relationships.
At just 17 years old, Chern'ee Sutton is taking the art world by storm.
I've got 2 paintings hanging at Queensland's Parliament House, 2 at the Queensland State Library. I've had exhibitions all over Queensland and even a few overseas as well.
Now the Bundaberg student has notched up another achievement, named as a finalist for the Queensland Young Australian of the Year Awards.
There's so many amazing young Queenslanders out there doing amazing stuff, and I was very proud and honoured to be chosen as one of them.
Chern'ee has been painting since she was 13. Now she travels the state, teaching kids and sharing her culture.
I'm very passionate about reconciliation and closing the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians, and I like to portray that a lot through my art as well.
She doesn't know who nominated her, but is just thrilled to make the list.
Chern'ee Sutton, 20 of Calabos, is a Kalkadoon woman with a plan to improve the acceptance of Indigenous Australians through her art. She has a reconciliation painting hanging permanently in Queensland's Parliament House and also in Buckingham Palace. Chern'ee has donated $110,000 of her artwork to charities and has been asked by Dreamworld to paint a memorial for the lives lost on the River Rapids ride. She also designed the Indigenous component and story for Borrabee, the 2018 Gold Coast Commonwealth Games mascot. Congratulations, Chern'ee.
A Bundaberg artist can now claim to have painted for the royal family. Chern'ee Sutton was chosen to meet the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge last weekend.
When Chern'ee Sutton took up painting 5 years ago, she never thought it would lead to a brush with royalty.
I've donated a lot of my paintings to different charities and organisations across Australia, and I guess part of it was just pure luck.
Chern'ee was one of 200 people selected for achievement in art to meet the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge at a Brisbane function last weekend. Chern'ee was personally introduced to the Duchess by the Premier before she handed over one of her prized paintings as a gift.
It represented Australia's first inhabitants, with the rainbow serpent showing the beginning of life in Australia.
The painting was called Ajaku Maru, meaning all one country. It only took Chern'ee 1 week to complete and has inspired her to do even more.
At just 17 years of age, Chern'ee Sutton is already a talented and generous artist. To date, Chern'ee has donated more than $60,000 worth of art to charities and organisations across Australia, enabling the Queensland Under-15s football team to fly to Papua New Guinea, a woman to travel to the United States for a hearing operation, and providing assistance to flood victims in Bundaberg. Her artwork, Ajaku Maru, meaning all one country in the Kalkadoon language, is inspired by her passion for reconciliation and is on permanent display in Queensland's Parliament House. Tonight we present this dedicated and inspiring young lady with a 2014 National NAIDOC Youth of the Year Award.
Chern'ee Sutton, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ayana.
So tell us about your painting.
Well, my painting is called Callie's Journey, which means butterfly's journey in the Kalkadoon language, and it's pretty much about the butterfly and how she was given the gift of change.
So what are you doing here today?
Well, today I'm doing a workshop with the kids. I've created the centrepiece of my painting, Callie's Journey, and I'll be getting the children to put their handprints around the outside. And then when it's done, I've got some special glasses here as well, and they can have a look through those, and it has a 3D effect, so it's a bit of a special surprise at the end.
That's amazing. So how does it work?
Well, the warmer colours like the oranges and reds, they rise up, and then the cooler colours like blues and greens, they sink down below the canvas. And then it's the black background that gives it the depth. So on this one, it'll actually look like the butterflies are flying.
And where do you get your inspiration from?
I have to say my Indigenous culture and heritage, and I'd like to share those stories and that culture with the world through my art. I also get inspiration from pretty much everything that I see.
So Chern'ee, what is your advice for other young artists?
Well, I'd say find your passion and pursue it. Whatever it is that gets you motivated or inspires you, do it every day with passion, and that's what will separate you from everyone else. And also, when obstacles knock you down, you need to get back up and fight harder to achieve your goals. Because every high, and especially every low, is what will shape you into the person that you'll become.
So what obstacles did you face?
Well, me as a young artist, I always found it very hard to juggle schoolwork and painting. Also, entering competitions, it sometimes feels really overwhelming, especially with people that have a lot more experience than you. But you don't let that stuff stop you, and you just go ahead, and you never know what might happen.
When did you find out that you had such an amazing talent?
Well, I'd always loved painting and creating stuff when I was a kid. When I was really young, I used to hold drawing classes with all my friends to draw like dragons and unicorns and stuff like that. But I didn't start doing actual painting until I was about 13. I was having some troubles at school, so I was encouraged to enter my first Indigenous art competition. And I didn't expect anything to come of it, but I ended up coming first, and that sparked my passion for art.
Where do you start when you first create a painting?
Well, sometimes I draw it up on a piece of paper, so then I get an idea of where I want things and sort of what colours that I want to use. Other times I just go straight for it and go with the flow and see what I end up with. painting hanging at Queensland's Parliament House on the reconciliation level. My artwork is also the design for the Indigenous All-Stars jersey for this year and last year. I've had exhibitions at the Australian Open. I've also had exhibitions in Hong Kong, Tokyo and Singapore. And pretty much most of my paintings go to Aboriginal art galleries in Sydney. I send them there and they send them all around the world.
So where to next?
Well, I've actually got my own chocolate line coming out very shortly, which I'm very excited for. It's the first time that Aboriginal art's actually been printed onto chocolate. So it's been done by printing white chocolate onto the dark chocolate and then vice versa for the light chocolates. And then my painting is also going to be the wrapper as well. So that's getting launched very, very shortly and I'm very, very excited.
That sounds delicious. Do you get to eat the chocolate?
Yes, I do. I actually get a few samples from each piece, so very yummy job actually.
Right, now for the serious questions. You ready for this, Chern'ee?
Yes, I'm ready.
So first, would you rather pick your nose or lick your toes?
Oh, I think I'd rather pick my nose, to be honest.
So Chern'ee, what's your favourite song and can you sing a line for us?
I'd have to say my favourite song is What Makes You Beautiful by One Direction. And it goes, you're insecure, don't know what for. Turning heads as you walk through the door. Don't need makeup to cover up. Being the way that you are is enough. So what's your favourite song?
My favourite song will probably be from The Lion King, and it goes, Hakuna Matata, what a wonderful thing. It's a problem-free philosophy. Hakuna Matata. And what's your most embarrassing moment?
Oh, that's a hard one. I've had so many. Let's see. When I was about 13, I'd just made some new friends and they decided to climb up a tree and I was wearing a dress and I wanted to fit in, so I decided I'd climb up the tree too. And then I decided, no, I don't like this anymore. So then I tried to jump down. But as I jumped down, I heard a tearing sound. I looked up and my dress was in the tree. That was very embarrassing. What's your most embarrassing moment?
Well, probably when I was in class and I farted and I blamed it on someone else, so yeah.
I've done that too, actually.
So Chern'ee, thank you so much for being on Juice TV. But before I go, do you mind if I put my handprint on your baby?
Yeah, of course. I'd love for you to put your handprint on there. Let's get started.
Okay.
This is the coolest picture I've ever seen in the whole wide world.
It's almost
Local Bundaberg artist has been named Youth of the Year at the National NAIDOC Awards. Chern'ee Sutton was honoured for her extensive charitable support and her work promoting Indigenous culture and reconciliation. She says the award was a complete surprise.
I had no idea. I knew I was a finalist. I'd known for a couple of weeks before, but to think that I'd win it just seems so out of my reach, to be honest.
Chern'ee's artwork is gaining international recognition, from shows in Japan to a spot in Buckingham Palace's art collection. Having you with us, 7 Local News. Well, Bundaberg Chern'ee Sutton has been awarded the Queensland Youth Leader Medal in this year's Pride of Australia ceremony. The Indigenous artist spends almost every waking hour painting.
There was a hush of anticipation before the announcement.
And the Young Leader Medal goes to Chern'ee Sutton.
Then the music swelled as the young artist was handed yet another accolade. Chern'ee won the award for donating more than $60,000 worth of her art to charities. The 17-year-old only picked up a paintbrush 4 years ago.
I was encouraged by my school to enter an Indigenous art competition. It was the first that I'd ever entered, and I came first in the open category, and it sparked my passion and snowballed ever since.
Her paintings now hang around the world, inspiring others, including her hometown mayor.
It's very good to have the opportunity, someone who's a good ambassador to promote that Indigenous culture.
One of her paintings depicting the Bundaberg region hangs in Council's foyer. The state winners will go on to Sydney, where they're in the running for the national medal on December 11.
Thank you so much.
Hannah Scott, 7 News.
If you missed it this week, here's the best bit from Bryce and Trace.
Last week they announced the 2018 Gold Coast Commonwealth Games mascot. The name is Borrowby and it's a giant blue koala. Big head, very, very cute.
Yeah, it was announced on Burleyheads Beach, and of course Com Games aren't too far away. And we had a local Bundy girl that was involved designing Borrowby the koala, and she designed the paws, the feet and the surfboard. Her name's Chern'ee. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the show, darling.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Now, this is pretty awesome. How did you get to be involved in this?
Well, the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games office actually contacted me and asked if I had any ideas which might look good on the mascot.
Now, why do they come to you? This is what I want to know, because, like, have you studied something specifically to design logos and imaging or what? Or, like, just how do they come to you out of everyone?
Well, I've had a lot of involvement with quite a few large companies and organisations, the NRL, Tennis Australia. I actually painted a reconciliation painting for the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games office a while back.
Oh, wow.
For Reconciliation Week. So.
Now, you've also designed the 2016 Indigenous All-Stars logo, and you've had part of the component of the 2017 Rugby League World Cup logo as well. You've done some big things.
Yes, yeah, it's been a big few years, but absolutely loving it.
But the big thing is, how old are you, Chern'ee?
19 years old.
Wow.
That's right, 19. Now, at school, did you study art at school?
I studied it for a little while, but I ended up going into law instead.
Oh.
Yeah, I was considering becoming a lawyer at one stage.
It's a little different.
So, yeah, totally different path.
So you were just telling me before, and you've got to share this story, but you actually knew what the mascot was going to be like last year before we even had any inkling as to what it could be, being a koala.
Yeah, so I knew at about October last year, so I've had to keep it secret for quite a while.
Oh, you would have been in trouble if you leaked that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I had to sign a confidentiality agreement, so I wasn't allowed to discuss any of the details.
What happened if you broke that? Was there anything specific, like specifically you can remember, like massive fines and stuff?
Much, yeah. They'd be able to get me good.
Now, you've been lucky enough to meet the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Now, they were in Australia in 2014. Why did you meet them?
I actually painted a reconciliation painting for them. I had the pleasure of meeting Kate and having a conversation with her.
Is she stunning like she's in the photos?
Oh, she's even more beautiful in real life.
More importantly, did you get a selfie with her?
No, we weren't allowed to take photos, but luckily the photographer got a quick snap of her and I talking.
Could you at least keep the photos then of that?
Yes.
Oh, I was going to say, you were ripped off otherwise.
Well, that is awesome. Now, what have you got coming up? Anything else you can tell us without being sued for confidentiality break?
Well, I've recently been announced as a 2016 digital champion.
Yeah.
I've also recently been announced as a finalist for the 2016 Young Achiever of the Year Awards in the
that's
Aboriginal category.
Look at the little resume that we've been given here.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
That is awesome.
Yeah, also currently working on next year's Indigenous All-Stars jersey, so very excited for that.
If you need a hand, we're good at, like, squiggle drawings.
Yeah, I can do good stickmen and houses, you know, with the square and the triangle on the top. So if you want any pointers, darling, we're happy to help.
Thanks for the offer.
She said it doesn't sound keen.
She's keen.
I don't think Sammy Thaiday wants a stickman on his right bicep. Don't know about that. But hey, thanks for coming in and telling us about it, and make sure you stay in touch with us, because
we'd love to. Yeah,
so cool. Like, not every day that you hear someone designed such a big logo that pretty much the whole world's going to see, and the fact that you're living in Bundaberg's pretty awesome as well.
Thanks very much.
It's Breakfast with Bryce and Trace.
Well, the painting is called Namai, which means to chase or to hunt in the Kalkadoon language. In the design, the boomerangs represent the battle that will take place on the field. The kangaroo represents the bomber's swiftness, agility and speed that will take them to victory. And the circles and travelling lines represent all the different communities and people that travel to the game to support the mighty bombers and Indigenous culture and history.
I only saw it on social media, but arriving here at the club today, seeing it in person, I always say photos don't do justice to paintings or designs or anything like that, so when you see them in person, that's when you get the real full impact. And yeah, just really delighted with the design. I love the tones of the red and the black in there, so she's done a marvellous job, so it looks very stunning.
This piece took me about a week to complete. On average, my paintings take me about 2 weeks to do, but that depends on how big they are and how much detail's in them, of course. I actually started painting when I was 13 years old. I entered an art competition and ended up coming first in the open category, and that's what sparked my passion for art. And then since then I've exhibited my artwork at Queensland's Parliament House, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Singapore and London. Met the Duke and Duchess and gave them a painting, as well as sold my art to collectors all around the world, so it's certainly been a massive journey.
Chern'ee Sutton has been named a Queensland Young Achiever. The 20-year-old took out the Aboriginal Achievement Award at a ceremony in Brisbane on Friday night. Chern'ee is well known throughout the region after designing the Indigenous component of the 2018 Commonwealth Games mascot, Borrowby. She was also commissioned by Dreamworld to paint a memorial for the victims who lost their lives in that freak accident at the park last year.
An external wall of Hinkler Central has come to life with an Indigenous mural painted by local artist Chern'ee Sutton. The project was designed to bring our region's youth together, giving back to the community.
It's a story from the Dreamtime, one that speaks about finding your path in life. It's the work of local Indigenous artist Chern'ee Sutton.
The story behind the painting was a story from Uncle Willie and the Terrabilling Bunda people.
The community project was a collaboration between Hinkler Central, local police and our region's youth.
We thought we may as well get the kids that sort of hang out here on a Thursday night involved. So yeah, they all come along on a Thursday night, do something constructive and give back to the community rather than, just hang out.
Chern'ee says the project has brought local kids together, volunteering their time to help bring the wall to life. A Dreamtime story that will be told for years to come.
I think this project is a way of giving the youth a sense of pride and belonging, and like they've added their mark to this wall at Hinkler, and it's going to be there forever, so they can come here in 10, 20 years to come and it'll still be there.
Chern'ee is known for her Indigenous design, which was used to form part of the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games mascot, Borrabee. The mural was 6 weeks in the making and is now complete. Eve Sharp, Win News.